Is it a long shot for Kevin Huerter to actually be in the starting lineup for the Chicago Bulls? Casey Johnson seems to think so. And Dalen Terry makes an adamant statement on him ready to make a leap in year 4. We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And today's episode, by the way, is brought to you guys by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. All right, Bulls fans, let's get into it, man. So there's a lot been said. Casey Johnson came out with another episode of the Fast Break yesterday, which left a lot. Dalen Terry also made an appearance on the CHGO Bulls podcast, which talked about that appearance and what that could mean. But with that said, let's start off with this one. There's been a lot of talk about who's going to be the starting small forward for the Chicago Bulls. There's been, talk and legitimate conversations made from everyone between Kevin Huerter, who was the starter at the end of last season, to Isaac Okoro, who we just traded for, Ayo Dosunmu. Some people have even made legitimate conversations for Patrick Williams to potentially win out as the starting small forward. I say that we have to first check if Patrick Williams indeed does have a pulse before he can be a starter again. But with that said, Casey Johnson actually threw some doubt on Kevin Huerter's ability to be the starter, actually calling it a long shot for Kevin Huerter to be the starter at the small forward position going into next season, which I personally feel like this. The Bulls finished last season on a great run. It was a great run to finish last season. And because of that, it left, it leaves the chance that Billy Donovan may want to take a look at that starting lineup that finished the season and give them every opportunity to show that maybe they can be the starting lineup at the start of this upcoming season, right? When you look at the stats for Kevin Huerter when he was in there as a starter, the Bulls went 15-6. He had the highest plus minus on the team after the All-Star break of 8.2. He also was pretty solid defensively in that time that he was on there, and scored about 15 points per game. Kevin Huerter was a solid starter last season for the Chicago Bulls in the time that the Bulls needed and relied on him as a starter. The question is do the Bulls want to go to double down on offense, which if you keep Kevin Huerter in the starting lineup, you are basically betting on your offense. You're betting on your offense to be better than the other team, than the opposing team that you're facing the following season. That's what you're hoping to happen there. Or you're going to insert something that starting lineup is missing is defense, right? And there is a great case to be made for Kevin Huerter remaining the starter with the numbers that we threw out there, how effective he was as a starter for the Chicago Bulls last season. But then there's also a solid enough case to be made that you need defense. And if Modest Buzelis does make the leap or a step, let's just say step, right? For right now, let's say step. If he does make the required step up as a player next year, whether that be offensively, whether that be defensively, maybe you can get away with focusing more on defense. Now, I personally would not hate Ayo Dosunmu being in there as a starter. I think he gives you the best mix of offense and defense at the small forward position. Him and Isaac Okoro are about the same size, so I don't want to hear anything about, but Haize, Ayo Dosunmu is actually a guard. But there's that. Now, if you want to maintain Ayo's rhythm coming off the bench, which he is, that he can be a player that can create in transition for you. He's a really solid rebounder. He can start the fast break. Isaac Okoro coming in there as a defensive-minded player that also can stretch the floor some with his ability to shoot three. It makes some sense there, right? And I think if Okoro does end up being the starter, I've made this comparison before, I think here and over on Central. He would be the Keith Bogans type starter. And by that, I don't mean bad. I'm not comparing Isaac Okoro and Keith Bogans as players. I'm also mean that Keith Bogans, when he was a starter here next to Derrick Rose, his role was to play solid defense and to hit open threes. That was it. That was his role. And it would be something very similar for Isaac if he does get in there as the starting three for the Chicago Bulls. His role will be bring in the defense that we're missing, go and shut down the best perimeter player to help take some of that pressure off Josh Giddey and Coby White, And at that point, when with Josh Giddey and Coby White's creation off drives, those type of things, hit the open 3-point shots. That corner three is going to be huge for you there. So, there's a case to be made for just about, any player that you name. You could try to figure out a lane on why they can make some sense to be the Bulls starter next season. But to say that Kevin Huerter has a long shot at it, it just that surprised me a little bit. Now, K.C. Johnson is basically the most plugged in beat reporter we have for the Chicago Bulls. He's the most plugged in that we have, right? But it's not like Casey is always 100% correct on things either, right? Shout out to Rob in the building. Says, hey, we're getting close to Bulls basketball again. Y'all start getting hyped. 2 weeks away from the Bulls taking the court again for the first time, albeit in a preseason game. But we are 2 weeks away, y'all. 2 weeks away. I can't wait. I'm super excited about getting basketball back, Bulls basketball specifically back. But for those that watch Eurobasket, go check out the NBL as well. There's some really good basketball. EuroLeague basketball starts soon too. So there you go on that one. But Kevin Huerter, it's going to be an interesting camp battle because everybody's going to come in and, well, hopefully everybody comes in and they're driven to try to make their impact on this Bulls team and show what they can bring for a Bulls team that needs somebody to show something, right? They need somebody to show something. They need some consistency. And so if the Bulls can find that, regardless of whoever brings that, right? At this point, I'm not even mad at whoever starts at the three, right? I want to see them take the most of the opportunity. That's the most important thing. Not just who starts, but who makes the most advantage of that opportunity. And I say this as well. Starting isn't the end all be all. It also comes down to who closes for the Chicago Bulls. Now, that's a story for another day. We probably won't have that conversation in depth until we get some preseason games. Maybe after a couple preseason games, we have an in-depth conversation on what the closing lineup needs to look like for the Chicago Bulls. But as things stand right now, Kevin Huerter is going to have a shot. Is he going to come out with it? We'll see. I mean, he wasn't terrible defensively, but the Bulls are surely lacking something defensively overall as a team. And so if you want to avoid getting yourself out to some early deficits, if you want to have the most balance to start off, getting some defense in that starting lineup probably makes the most sense there. And we'll see what Billy Donovan ends up deciding to do. But that is one of the major questions for this team coming in to this offseason is who's going to be the starting three? What mix of players do you want in that starting lineup that you feel give you the best chance to start games strong? That's going to be the question here. And most of the starting positions are kind of figured out, right? Josh Giddey, Coby, they're going to be your starting one and number two. Modest Buzelis didn't do anything to not have his starting position, so he's going to be your starting four. And as long as Nikola Vucevic is on this team, he's going to be your starting five. So it leaves the three and the bench rotation. Those are the two things that are huge question marks for the Chicago Bulls coming into the season. Who starts? Who finishes? How does your bench rotation work out day in and day out? Who becomes trusted over the course of this season? That's what it comes down to. We got this one. Even though we may win much, we may not win much, I'm still super excited to see who takes leaps forward. Well, here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that you could just say that, it depends on what you mean by win much. I do think, and I've said this, Pat has said the same thing. This is a team that can be 500 this year, and it may be even above, depending on what things happen. You look at how injuries broke. It's a chance for that. Now, they're going to have to figure out the things we're talking about. They're going to have to bring it consistently, and they're going to have to prove a few things if they're going to want to be that team that can go above what the expectations are for them this season. I'm not necessarily predicting them to do that, but I do realize that there is a nice chance that the Bulls can be that this season. The question is how much of it do they show and how much do they show it consistently? Consistency is going to have to be a thing for this Bulls team. And while the end of season stretch for the Chicago Bulls, the way that they finished that season, you don't expect that to maintain, right? You don't expect that pace. They're on like a 50-game pace at the end of the season there. Don't expect that to necessarily hold true, but be better, improve. I do think this is a team that's better than what they were last season. I think they've gotten better. Marginally, not hugely, but I think they're better. I think there's better balance to this team. I think pieces fit better on this team than what they were last season. It just comes down to how consistently they can do the things that they need to do to win basketball games. And we shall see what happens there. We shall see. I'm going to maintain faith in my team. I know there's not a lot of positivity right now around the Chicago Bulls, and hopefully they can change some of that with the way that they play at the beginning of the season. But the Bulls have a tough schedule to start, which, it makes it even more important that they find their balance on things like their rotation and stuff early on. So let's hope the Bulls can do that. But with that said, we're going to talk about another player, Dalen Terry, who between Casey Johnson's comments and Dalen Terry's own comments, there may be some excitement around what Dalen Terry can be in year 4. We'll talk about that right after we get into the message from Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. One of my most favorite features about Monarch Money is that you can also track shared accounts. So if you share an account with a loved one, you can even set personal goals in that shared account and mix those with your individual accounts as well, so you can achieve everything that you need to. Don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. More Locked On Bulls coming up next. All right, Bulls fans. With that said, let's get into it. Dalen Terry. Dalen Terry's had an interesting 24 hours, man, because he had an interview on CHGO in which he talked about his preparation in the offseason, saying that, he felt like he put his body through hell, was the exact quote that he used in regards to his offseason. And one of the best quotes that came out of that was him saying, listen, even after working with DeMar in the offseason, I realized that there are things that DeMar doesn't have to do that I do have to do, right? I think that's what tells me that he at least has the right mindset. Now, I want to be clear here. You can prepare, you can have the right mindset, you can go absolutely through hell in training camp, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to come out of that necessarily hugely better, right? But you look at Dalen Terry at being 23 years old, just turned 23 a couple of years ago. Let's take the years of service away and look at the age. This is the age you start seeing the game slow down to players, right? And I'm not expecting a huge leap for Dalen Terry, but I do think we've seen growth in areas from Dalen Terry that, can go unmissed because his role has been inconsistent up until this point. Dalen Terry has really become a much better shooter from when he was in the NBA. When you look at it, last season he shot 36% from three, right? His last year before that, 23%. The year before that, 26%. So there's signs of growth there, right? Again, not huge growth, but there's signs of growth there. His overall field goal percentage went up from 43.9% to 44.8%. So almost a percentage extra there, taking an extra shot per game. Dalen Terry also played 13 and a half minutes per game, up 2 minutes from the season prior to that. And Dalen Terry's words when he was on CHGO reminded me of the year before Coby became the starting point guard in going into his 4th year in the NBA. I believe, maybe it was his 5th year in the NBA. He had been coming off his worst statistical season, averaging less than 10 points per game for the first time in his career. His shooting splits weren't good. It was a year that Billy Donovan and the Bulls really tried to make him just a jump shooter. He then, after the year that Pat Bev leaves, and he comes into that as the starting point guard and has, at that time, the best season of his career, averaging right under 20 points per game. He then comes out of that last season and takes that a step further. So it's precedence here for role and an increase in your performance at a certain age, even later into their career. If Dalen Terry, and I've said this on Central, Dalen Terry just has to be consistent in something, right? If Dalen can be a really good point of attack defender, which we've seen moments of Dalen Terry absolutely being good defensively. Dalen Terry also shot nearly 60% in the restricted area last season when he attacked the rim. That was something that we also see added to Dalen Terry's game last year. His ability to recognize when he had a size or a speed advantage against players and try to force the issue. I'm not here to tell you guys that Dalen Terry is going to become some uber great role player for the Chicago Bulls. But as me and Pat have talked about, all Dalen Terry has to do this year, heading into restricted free agency, is just show that he can play a role for you. Because Dalen is going to be easy to retain. He hasn't shown a lot over the course of his NBA career. Retaining Dalen Terry isn't going to be hugely expensive. If Dalen shows that he can be a point of attack defender for you and a transition playmaker for you as well, I tell you what, I mean, if you're talking about next season, even if you're saying that Dalen Terry, Javon Carter's contract's up, that Dalen Terry then is in that Javon Carter role next season, that he is the player, not next season, in the 26-27 season after this upcoming season. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at you keeping Dalen Terry around if that's it. But then Casey Johnson on his episode of The Fast Break yesterday also talked some about Dalen Terry, where he said that from what he's hearing internally in the Chicago Bulls is that Dalen Terry has turned some heads with the way that he has gone in his offseason, with the way that he's come in here prepared, right? With the way that it looks like he's ready to go for the season. And, that's music to my ears. I'm not here to try to sell you guys on a player because they're in the Bulls uniform. That's not what we're here to do, right? But I'm here to say this, is that if a player that was drafted and that was extremely raw when they were drafted finally starts putting it together, that's something that I think you want on your team, right? He was drafted 18th overall. The least played rookie at his draft position ever in his rookie year. If Dalen just turns into a player for you, that at least shows that there's a proof of concept in looking at these young raw players, right? Shout out to Shay here. Says, Terry, just be good at 3 and D. It's really all he has to do. Shout out to Pat, the designer, coming through. You still got with your camera I see today. It's already tripping on you.
Bro, I don't know what's going on with the equipment today. Apparently the podcast this morning, the audio was cutting in and out. I guess the camera on StreamYard. I don't know what the heck is going on. Maybe the computer need updating.
That have you unplugged it and plugged it back in lately?
Sometimes you got to. I hate to say that that's a real thing, but sometimes you really just got to.
Bro, so there was a day where what was it that was not working on my computer? It was something wasn't working. I think it was the audio, bro. I'm doing things. I'm going in the settings. I'm turning things off in the properties, turning them back on. I even restarted the computer, and it still wasn't working. I was like, you know what? This isn't gonna work, but let me try. I unplugged it and plugged it back in. The whole entire computer was working perfectly fine after that.
I have no answers. So I'm gonna do all of that after this because I don't know what the heck's going on with the PC lately. But Mud's been saying stuff has been tweaking on the last couple of streams. So to answer the question though, no, Dalen Terry not doing that. It's not even hate. It's just politics. Honestly.
I mean, I don't even know if it's politics. Like, did you? So
how many shots did Dalen Terry get last year?
Almost 4.
Guess how many he taking this year?
See, I mean, it depends on how he comes in. Like, because I don't know if you got to see Casey Johnson's Fast Break episode, but like him talking about that people inside the Chicago Bulls are really impressed with how Dalen Terry worked this offseason. We'll see. And there goes the Tourette's again. It's so funny.
I love that it did at that time. Damn.
So funny. That is hilarious.
Remember the last time they were really excited about how somebody worked inside the building in the offseason?
I mean, the last time was Coby.
Yeah, it was Patrick Williams.
No, it was Coby the year he became a starter. Everybody was talking about how excited they were, and it ended up working out.
I mean, it was also P. Will, and they loved what he was doing with DeMar, and it didn't matter.
That's true, but that was 2-3
I just think, honestly,
ago.
like, we put a lot of expectation on these young guys. Like, I do think Shay's outlook on Dalen Terry is probably true, right? He's probably going to get 4 shots a game. Yes, there's going to be some games where he ends up with 6. Yeah, there's going to be some games where he ends up with 2. But he's probably going to average out about 4 shots a game. In those 4 shots, 2 of them probably are going to be threes. Knock down one of those. Go out there and play solid defense. I don't think that the shot profile for Dalen Terry is going to all of a sudden change this season because
the shot profile I'm not expecting, but the frequency maybe if he because for what it's worth, Dalen Terry finished the season shooting almost 37% from three, which is really solid, and 38% from the corner three. So he showed a little bit of growth last season.
Yeah, I don't think it's a percentage thing though. You know what I mean? There's only so many shots to go around. If Coby's getting 15 to 18, if Modest is getting, probably still 12 to 14, you know what I mean? If Giddey's getting 12 to 14, like Vooch is getting his shots, now all of a sudden you're kind of just spreading the rest around for everybody else. Like to me, I feel like we put a lot on these young guys and we say, you had this opportunity and you can take this step. All you got to do is take the reins. And yet we hear players say all the time, like, no, this is your role and you're going to play this role. And that's your job on this team. For me, I just think that Dalen Terry's job on this team, very similar to what Shay said, 3-and-D. Go out there, you play phenomenal defense, you're going to get minutes. It's not a minutes issue. You finish the season, the second to last month of the season, we were seeing Dalen Terry play 25-plus minutes a game.
Yeah, we were also seeing lineups of Modest Buzelis at center towards the end of that season. Billy Donovan was just doing stuff towards the end of that season. So, but I mean, we'll see. You got to earn it. His role, like, Dalen making a leap isn't just about offense, though. I think we came in and we talked a lot about offense. It's not just about that. Like, if Dalen, especially for a team that needs defense, shows that he can be trusted defensively, I think there'll be some minutes there for him.
But even in that, right now you have to, and I know we got to do an ad break. Do I have an ad break? I have nothing.
Yeah, you got fan.
Now you have to, like, you got to be a better defender than quite a few dudes on this team, actually. Now, like, you got to outperform Isaac Okoro, who clearly can take your job and probably has more upside.
Hold on. It's not about outperforming those guys, because that's not going to happen. It's just about, when we talk about Dalen, I'm talking more about Dalen fighting for that 10th man. Like, let's pump the brakes there. Nobody's talking about Dalen Terry passing up Isaac Okoro or Ayo Dosunmu. It's just about Dalen being a more consistent part of the rotation.
I'm just saying, to maintain the minutes that he was getting by the end of last year. Like, otherwise, you're just an 8 minutes a game guy, and there's no point in us talking about him. I'm saying for him to maintain kind of being in that range, we're like, hey, we kind of need you more defensively in this game. And so we're going to give you these minutes, in a lineup that involves you and Okoro and Ayo and all that. Like, there's a lot of guys that he's got to now outplay to maintain just what we saw last season. And so I don't know if he's even going to be able to do that. We shall see, as I'm running to get this ad read up here. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love as always. Bro, let me tell you about kids. I come upstairs. My daughter is
Pat. We got to hit the ad read at it.
Let me hit the ad read. Let me hit the ad read. Yeah, we'll be right back right after this. Nothing was changed. Let's hit the ad read, though. The NFL season is here and is making sure you're ready to kick off with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel is so easy to use. You got things like player props, same game parlays, or even jumping in live on the action. So are you ready to play? All you got to do right now is go download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Once again, that is FanDuel.com to go out and place your first $5 bet. More Locked On Bulls coming up next.
One of those mornings, bro.
So these kids. I come upstairs. Aria is holding Paxton, who has rolled out of the bed, Mufasa style.
Wait, she's holding him Mufasa style?
Just arms. Like remember when Scar gets a hold of him, he's like, long live the king. So they're screaming, both of them, at the top of their lungs. This is right as I'm finishing the show. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I cut the show off. I run upstairs. She's like, help! I can't hold on much longer. I'm like, cliffhanger? Are we getting cliffhanger right now? I get all of that done. I pick him up. He's fine. He don't hit the floor. She caught him. I'm like, good job, everybody. Everybody's okay. We're going to be fine. It's going to be great. It's going to be okay. I come downstairs. I'm like, let's cut on something to calm y'all down. I cut on Sesame Street. The episode of Sesame Street is Professor Buck Oz School for Clucks. He's teaching chickens, but the name is the School for Clucks. I'm like, let's find a different. It's been a morning, bro. It's been a morning. Professor Buck All's School for Clucks.
Sesame Street moved away from PBS. The writers have just been like, hey, how much can we throw in here that kids may not catch up on?
Crazy, bro.
With that said, Pat, real quick before we got to get up out of here, bro. One of the things Casey Johnson brought up in his Fast Break episode as well is how Billy Donovan is going to manage the noise this year. Talking about, the trade talks around Vuce, potentially Coby, Ayo in contract years, all that type of stuff. Do you feel confident in Billy Donovan's ability to manage that noise for the Bulls this season and get them to lock in?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that, Billy is fine as a coach, and he does these things well. Like, he's a good manager of the team. I think that, a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people's issues is the W's and L's, and we're not seeing enough of those in Bulls uniforms. But as far as like the day-to-day stuff of being a head coach, like Billy Donovan is great at that. Like it didn't, you knew the situation Josh Giddey was going to be in. It didn't slow him down at any point last season. I feel like kind of that same thing when Coby first got his contract. It didn't slow him down in the slightest. So to me, I don't think that there is going to be an issue with Billy Donovan managing, kind of expectations and managing some of the noise around some of these guys. I also think it makes it easier, right? Like if he has to manage noise, that means the Bulls are winning. You're not managing much noise if you're a 34-win team. Like, oh, you got to manage the noise around re-signing dudes that have helped us get 34 wins. Like that doesn't usually happen that often. You know what I mean?
No, I think it does happen because, like, in the sense that if you have good players that are becoming unrestricted free agents for a team that's been losing, there is that. Are you going to be able to keep this dude? He's the one thing we got that's good. But with the Bulls, like, I don't like. Here's the thing, Pat, and correct me at any time if I'm wrong. What? AK has kept players for less. We're talking about 37 win seasons. Like,
I think that's the thing too. Is like, is it noise?
Like,
you know what I mean? Is it really noise?
Like, exactly. Like, noise from who? Matt Peck? Like, let's be clear. Like, no shot to Matt. I love Matt, but it's like, but come on. If we're looking at what this team has done, AK looks at any increment of success and be like, paying him.
Hey, bro, like, noise from who? Matt Peck is hilarious, bro. Like, that is facts, bro. Like that to me, like, I don't even think this is a noise situation. Like, if they win 43 games, Coby White is going to be here. We think Vooch is staying.
Exactly.
Like, I would be genuinely surprised if Vooch is traded this season. Genuinely surprised. I would be genuinely surprised if Coby White, Ayo Dosunmu, Patrick Williams, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, these are names that should be optimal for the trade. Maybe not Ayo. But like
Ayo
all those other names
would have a big trade market, but
he would have a big trade market. But like all these other names is like, these are the names you're supposed to trade.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to trade somebody, like these are the obvious ones. And I don't think that AK is going to trade any of them.
Bro, if the Bulls get to 500 this season, just go. Everybody stays. Everybody stay. If literally the only as much as everything stayed the same, if the Bulls get to 41 wins or above the season, the only person that's leaving is Javon Carter. Everybody else is still going to be here.
Javon Carter might be a leader in that locker room, Haize.
I swear to God, if the Bulls try to make a conversation for keeping Javon, oh my God.
Might be a leader in that locker room. You don't know, you didn't get to see it, Haize, the growth that Noah Essengay had because of Javon Carter just standing under there and cupping him.
Now it's time to end the show because that's it. I refuse to. I can buy into some propaganda. Javon Carter propaganda? No, not doing it. Not doing it. Any last words, Pat, before we get up out of here?
Nah, man. It seems like I'm frozen anyways. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. The show love as always. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer.
You guys can follow me at CEO Haize. Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, Fubo TV, basically anywhere you want us. You can get it. We'll catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Hopefully Pat is there and doesn't have a whole nother catastrophe. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
Peace. Carlos, hold up. Did you just say cupping?